Hey there, everybody. This is Caitlin here, and welcome back to a rather later time in the day for Card Game Wednesday. Mainly because I was quite busy during the day there, so I wasn't able to get onto this earlier than I would have hoped. But the video is here now, and we're here to discuss the three sets of cards or whatever that were coming out over Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for Force of Will, the Advent of the Demon King. Starting off here, we have Light with the Return of the Pandas by the looks of it. Never mind Return of the Demon King or Return of the Dragon Emperor. We have Return of the Pandas here with Rose Quartz, the Panda Queen, who I'm just going to put it down right now. I find terrifying to look at. I don't know, it's just with the hair, the dress, the panda eyes. It's just, I find her absolutely terrifying to even look at. But she is a 5 cost panda. She is 5 light entirely, no void cost here. She's a 1000/1000. You can pay 1 light less to play this card for each panda you control. So essentially, if you've got 5 pandas out there, she is free, essentially. When this card enters the field, pandas you control gain 400/400 until end of turn, which is pretty awesome. And at the end of your turn, recover all pandas you control. So, pretty interesting thing about that is obviously because of how cheap she's played, you mainly want to play her in the opportunity in that all your stuff can swing. So like your ideal thing would be that say you've got at least maybe 5 or even 4 pandas out. And all of them are like, they are able to attack this turn. So the most ideal thing would be is that you would play obviously Rose Quartz, Panda Queen, give everything 400/400. You would just swing with everything potentially, as long as like your opponent doesn't have too much stuff to block with, whatever. And then at the end of the turn, you can recover all the pandas. It doesn't say just for that turn it enters. It just says at the end of your turn. So it's like a continuous thing. You don't need to worry about that effect only happening once. The only effect that happens once is the enter effect there. But the end of turn thing seems to be a continuous ability, similar to, I think it was the Leaf Healer or whatever from back in Ancient Knights, which recovers all your Resonators at end of turn. So it's kind of similar to that, except we've got it for light and specifically for pandas. So she seems interesting. I believe she's also a panda that you can cheat in with the panda twins and whatnot. So she is definitely interesting. I personally, I didn't pick up the panda deck. I don't know if I'm going to pick it up at all. I guess it just, we'll need to wait and see whether pandas get a bit better. Currently, I think maybe they're outpaced by some of the red stuff, the kind of like the strong swiftness cards and everything. So I'm not too sure yet. But moving on here, we have Gem Jail, which is a chant which everyone has pretty much deduced now is pretty terrible for what it does. So it's 1 light and XX. As an additional cost to play this card, banish X gems. Remove X target resonators from the game. So I am, like, though, someone did actually do, like, a whole post which they broke down exactly what it is you would actually have to pay in order to remove, like, any certain number of resonators. It was, like, quite complicated to actually verbally explain, so if you are ever confused, I'm pretty sure there's been several posts in, like, the Force of Will, the US group anyway, discussing exactly the breakdown of it. But for removal cost, this card, even with pandas generating gems and whatnot, is way too expensive to be consistent. Even just like banishing 1, or even just trying to attempt to remove a target resonator from game, it is too costly for what you're like basically having to give up. At the bottom here, we've got like Rose Quartz been like, oh ho ho, ugly things need not trouble me. So she seems to have a kind of beauty complex there. She has, like, caged some kind of, like, demon imp thing, so I can understand maybe why she doesn't like demons in particular, but yeah, this card is bad. I will have to say it now, and I will categorically go saying this is a bad card. But next up, we have a Rallying Song of the Panda, which is a quick cast chant. It's 1 light and 1 void. J/Resonators you control gain 200/200 until end of turn, and pandas you control gain 200/200 until end of turn. Now, I believe, as far as I'm aware, these are 2 separate clauses, so first of all, J/Resonators you control would gain 200/200, and pandas would gain 200/200. So, as far as I'm aware, if you control pandas, they would get 400/400, unless I am reading this incorrectly, and it just means that if you only controlled pandas, for instance, they would only get the initial 200/200, they wouldn't get the additional one. I don't know, it's just the way that it's worded. It's that, hey, why wouldn't it just be that J/Resonators you control gain 200/200, unless it's specifically meant to be, hey, if you're using pandas, they get 400/400 technically. So I'm not too sure about that. It seems interesting, obviously, for only 2 costs to give everything only 200, if, like, say you're not playing pandas, is a bit iffy. If you're playing pandas and you would get 400/400 for just 2, then yes, it would be amazing. But I'm not quite sure if that's entirely what they meant by the wording of this, so I'm not too sure about this card in particular. Next up, we have the White Dog of Sasaru Palace, which has already been memed to death already. You know, the artwork in particular. I'm not going to say why, but if you're a part of any of the Facebook groups or whatever, you'll probably know why it's been memed to death. It is a 2-cost resonator. It is 1 light and 1 void, 600 beast. If you're trying to keep track of all these beasts that you can potentially play. Whenever you gain a gem, this card gains 100 until end of turn. So, not too bad. I could maybe see this being alright in draft format. Not sure if you would ever want this in, say, the actual deck, because it just feels like it's not, like, strong enough. Like, you're only when you gain a gem, and it's only until end of turn. It's not like you can stack them like counters, so it's going to lose those counters at the end of turn, so it doesn't seem like it's all that good. People gather when a cat cries, they scatter when a dog barks. Not quite sure if that's supposed to be really philosophical or something like that, but I'm a little bit iffy about the light spoilers that we had so far in this week. Moving on to Fire, though, Fire gets a little bit more interesting. We have Elixer, the Majin, which is a 4-cost Wicked Spirit. She's 2 Fire, 2 Void, a 1000. And I guess my initial theory that perhaps this character in particular would be a ruler, because she had 2 different artworks, has been proven wrong. Just seems like she's an SR resonator, and she's going to feature in at least a couple of cards and whatnot as like a character, but she's sadly not a ruler, which is a little bit sad. She has 2 crest abilities, 1 for darkness and 1 for fire. So looking at the fire one first, if you control the fire magic crest, when Elixir enters the field, it deals 600 damage to each resonator your opponent controls, and if you control the darkness crest, when she enters the field, you can destroy a target resonator. So immediately, she seems to be a really, really solid pick to be putting in your Welser deck if you are definitely running the Darkness and the Fire Crest. Since Welser himself is a Fire ruler, it seems more likely that you would run the Fire Crest, like just as a staple, because of that, you know, that's his element, that's his attribute. It seems like you would more likely be using that one in particular. Darkness also seems like a safe bet because of the way that the Darkness one works, so I can see her being really well. It's just a shame, I feel like maybe outside of Welser, and obviously I feel like maybe she might not be as viable, because obviously this means that both of her effects are reliant on the crests, and I believe the fire one and the darkness one are the 2 ones that aren't 1-drops, or I might be wrong. At least the fire one isn't a 1-drop, I remember. The darkness one might be, but I believe the fire one is a 2-cost, if I'm correct in thinking, but she's interesting. I would feel like if you were running Welser, you would definitely want to run her. She's probably one of the better Wicked Spirits you could pick to have in the deck, and she's like a pretty cool looking SR. Who she is, her personality, everything was overtaken completely by evil, so this makes me think that maybe she, people have been speculating now that the magic crest that seems to be the power or whatever they derive from Welser, some people are speculating that they attach themselves to living beings and totally corrupt them and like take over their body. Sort of similar to Valentina, but not entirely. Like the magic consumes the body and creates something new from it. Sort of like just using the body as a physical host and then creating something new. Many people are speculating that the Majins that we've seen so far, well, mainly the like the fire, the wind, the light Majins, they were dark elves who became like basically corrupted through the crests. That's what some people were speculating, and I think that's quite an interesting theory here. But moving on, we have Elixir's Fighting Spirit, which is basically people are just saying is a better Tiger Charge. It's a 1-cost quick cast, has Remnant, target J/Ranger gains plus 400 attack and first strike until end of turn. So basically this is like a better version of Tiger Charge from the Lapis cluster, so you'll more likely be seeing this over Tiger Charge in the future. Elixir's aura shaped itself into pointed fangs, which is very, very scary. She's also got really, really weird outfit design. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of weird at the same time. Not sure what the big heavy metal shoulder pads are, but then like no armor on the chest or body. I'm not too sure there. It's a little bit weird, but this is definitely a very good card, I feel. Pretty awesome as well, but the only sad thing is that it's a rare, so it's probably going to be a bit harder to get a playset of this. Next up, we have Fire Wave, a pretty expensive chant here. It's a 5-cost. It is 3 fire and 3 void. Or, not a 5-cost, sorry, a 6-cost card. I can't even read numbers. As you play this card, you may banish a Wicked Spirit Resonator. If you do, you may pay 2 less to play this card, so potentially you can pay this for 4 instead. This card deals 1200 damage to each Resonator your opponent controls, which is hella scary. I can understand why this is certainly a very expensive card. It seems very useful to play, obviously, in Welser because you can banish Wicked Spirits, and more likely than not, you are playing Wicked Spirits in your Welser deck to kind of like contribute to that. In other decks, it's like as much as like it would be very good for fire burn decks and whatnot, most of the time fire burn decks try to like finish the game probably before they get to say even 6 stones, maybe even like less than that, I feel. Or rather, if they do get to like 6 or more stones, then maybe they are having an issue about something. So I'm not too sure how well this would implement in other decks. If maybe you were also running a fire deck which also implemented at least the fire majin or whatever, maybe it would be a bit better because then you could banish it and play this card instead. So I'm not too sure here. It seems to be mainly good for Welser, but maybe that's about it. Also at the bottom here we have Gel going, "It's coming, hide." So, maybe he didn't have a part to play in the Demons Coming or whatever? I'm not too sure. But finally we have the Majin Stone, which is the last card from the Fire Spoilers, which seems to be Welser's special magic stone. You can tap it and produce fire, or you can banish this card and produce 2 fire. Spend this will only to play Wicked Spirits. Pretty basic here, not gonna lie. It's probably only going to be used in Welser decks because obviously it's a special magic stone that only produces fire, so it's not really very useful in other decks. You know, it's just like, hey, here's a target for special magic stones and whatnot. So not too sure. I feel like it's only really good in, say, Welser. I can't think of a reason why you would want to use it in any other deck other than him, but I digress. But moving on, finally, we have the Water Spoilers, and these are really bizarre. So we got a revelation of the Water Ruler. So it seems to be that at least from my understanding, we already had 3 of the attributes already from Ancient Knights. We had Darkness, we had Wind, and we had Light. And now we've had Fire and Water revealed. So I'm not quite sure whether if we're getting 3 rulers in Advent of the Demon King again, what attribute that last ruler is. Is it going to be a Void ruler? Is it going to be a multi-attribute ruler? I'm not too sure. Or even, are we only going to get the 2? I mean, we might only just get 2 rulers out of this set. Who knows? But she is Ayu, the Lunar Swordswoman, which is really cool. A couple of people were maybe speculating that she might have been connected to Kaguya in some way because obviously she was a were-rabbit, she's wearing a blue kimono, she's got the moon in the background and the bunnies around her, but it seems like she is a were-rabbit. She might still have a connection to Kaguya, but we don't really know because we're not too sure what kind of variation it is. People are still obviously confirmed that we are on Grimm's world in some form, whether we're in the past, we're in an alternate timeline, we're in another multiverse or something like that. I'm not too sure, but Ayu seems really interesting because her judgment is 2, so she's 1 blue and 1 void. She's got blue energize. At the beginning of the game, draw a card, which is very, very nice. You get like an extra bit of card draw, which is, you know, pretty good. Although she has this stipulate, which is you may not have more than 1 copy of any card in your deck. So people have been kind of like touting her as being the ultimate jank ruler because of, you know, the instance that, hey, you can only have 1 copy of each card in the of any card in your deck, which makes it really, really weird to play. It's like a kind of like you don't even know what could happen because you can't really rely on multiple copies of a card for a specific play. And considering that maybe out of all of the like colors or whatever, blue seems to be the worst for mono builds just because blue doesn't seem to have a lot of like power on its own. Blue seems to be more or less a support color. You're not really going to get very far on having just a mono blue. Mono fire is like very doable. Like even like a mono dark is very doable. But sometimes it's just like it's very, very hard. And especially now that like Hook is potentially getting banned in just all regions and whatnot. Blue doesn't really have that much power behind it anymore, so it's just like going mono blue would be very weird, but I'm not too sure. At the bottom we have, this meeting is definitely a once-in-a-lifetime event, and this seems to be her kind of gimmick in that everything is only once in a lifetime, because when she flips over she is Ayu the Shaman swordswoman, and this artwork is amazing. I absolutely adore it. She's a 1000, still wear her, but she naturally comes with imperishable, which is really interesting because other than Mikage, I think she's the only other J ruler in the format that comes with imperishable, unless I believe Lumia can gain it, but only through I can't remember if she gains imperishable through discarding the Nyarlathotep. I might be remembering that wrong, but when this card enters the field, you search your deck for a Soul Resonator, reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. You can discard our Soul Resonator. This card gains 500 flying and first strike until end of turn, which is pretty awesome. And she has a God's Art, which is very nice to see again, called Once in a Lifetime. See that kind of like story gimmick there, which is a 0 cost God's Art. You name a card, reveal cards from the top of your deck until you reveal the named card. Put that card into your hand and remove the rest from the game. So that is quite a a scary gambit there, because obviously you're only putting it into your hand, so you still need to play it. Same with the Soul Resonator that you search out from your deck. You can only put it to hand, it doesn't get put to the field, so it's very, very interesting. I think depending on whether how many Soul Resonators that we do get, and obviously what they do and how good they are, depends on whether or not maybe Ayu would be a pretty interesting card to use. Maybe if you just flipped her early, get her really like flip her early, maybe get that Soul Resonator, find a way to give her swiftness. Maybe you can run the swiftness horse and whatnot, just like swing for her, because obviously she's got imperishable, which is pretty good, and we have no Black Moonbeam in the format, so that would be really, really interesting. And at the bottom there she says, because all meetings are once in a lifetime. So I'm really interested to find out what this girl is all about, what her connection is with these like soul spirit resonator things, and how she's a shaman swordswoman. And it's really interesting to see where rabbits again. Feels like it's been like a little while since we saw them. But next up we have a chant for her, a quick cast chant. It is Ayud's Sword Strike. Reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. If none of them share a name, destroy target Resonator. Put the revealed cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. So that's kind of a good way to filter through your deck to potentially get something that you're looking for, and a means to obviously definitely destroy a target Resonator unless this is cancelled, because obviously if you're running Ayu, then you would not have more than one copy of a card in the deck. Ayu's reliance on one-time techniques meant she needed to keep her sword as sharp as possible. Very, very interesting, as well as like the kind of looming Oni type figure in the background there. And last but not least, we finally get to see a look at one of these beast/soul things. We have Valurious Tiger Spirit, a 5-cost Resonator, 2 water and 3 void. It's a 1200, pretty awesome, with precision. If your J ruler is Ayu Loner Swordswoman or Ayu the Shaman Swordswoman, you may pay 1 less to play this card, so you can play it for 4. And when this card is put into a graveyard from your hand, target J/Resonator gains precision until end of turn. So even when this card dies, it's passing on its ability at least, or rather, it's passing on its keyword to something else, so that makes a good use for it. And at the bottom here it says, the spirit fills its host with a primal fury. Very, very interesting. I'm really curious to find out about the other spirits. Going by her artwork here, it seems that the spirits are a tiger, a bird, a snake, a rabbit. I think there's a monkey there, maybe, or unless I'm not seeing that properly, and there's also a fox. So I'm guessing all these are going to be soul/spirit resonators and whatnot in the set, and we can look forward to seeing them. So that is a very, very interesting. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this little catch up, a little bit of a longer video here to look at all these different spoilers and whatnot. Let me know what you're thinking down below, guys. If you're looking forward to the Wind and the Darkness coming in the next couple of days and whatnot. Let me know if you like Ayu, whether you're leaning towards her. Are you thinking of bringing back pandas, or are you siding with Welser and the fiery demon side? So until next time, guys, I will see you all later.